Russell Westbrook. You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Party on Broad. It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Today, we are breaking down the Eagles' 53-man roster. A little too early, 53-man roster prediction. We're going to give our expectations, our predictions, and we're going to give us the top training camp battles moving forward. Shortened off season, but what the hell? Let's do this anyway. Joining me today is, of course, our co-host. He is Rob. Follow him on Twitter at Philly_Madness. And check out the Madness podcast with Jessica Talon. How you doing, Rob?
Good, man. I missed you guys. It's been a while since we got on here from one of these, so I'm glad to be back.
Been too long. So check out the Madness podcast with Jess Town. You can find that anywhere you find your podcasts or here at the YouTube, the Painted Lines YouTube channel. And joining us today is, of course, our co-host. He is JR. Follow him on Twitter at JohnRussell215. What's going on, man?
Dude, I miss you guys. I miss hearing your voices. I miss talking to birds. Like, I'm sick of talking figures and numbers at work. Like, it's good to sit down and talk Eagles.
How good is it, man? We are literally like a month away from sports, from basketball, from
Maybe. I feel like one day we get really good news, and then like 3 days later, it's like, it's fading again. 35 people got the virus, and you're like, oh God. Just give me something.
It is definitely hitting that gray area of like money talks, but also coronavirus talks, because you're seeing all these like numbers go up, but they still continue to proceed. So who knows?
But here's the thing: like, look, how is the Korean Baseball League doing fine? How's the English Premier League doing fine? How's the Bundesliga doing fine? These are all major sports corporations that are doing it without a hitch. If baseball screws this up, it's solely on them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, especially baseball. I mean, baseball, if they don't come back, or they are coming back, but like that has been a disaster for months. So I'm glad they're coming back, but man, like, are you apparently baseball coming back, Rob?
I am now. I wasn't for a while. I was I got to the point where I was like, screw all of you, but I am excited that it's coming back. But I will say, I was reading something about it. It seems like the reason it wasn't like jumping at coming back was both sides were preparing for next year's labor battle, and they didn't want to give anything too much away now.
Wow.
So that next year when they have this battle, that the one group could use it against the other. And it's like, look, man, you guys are in dire straits right now. Like as a professional sport, you're falling down the pecking order here. And the last thing you want to do is piss off the remaining fans that you have.
Yeah, and that's a short leash. Any last take on that, JR, before we talk about the Eagles' 53-man roster?
I love Rob, and I think he represents like 99% of what people are saying. But the 1%, what I'm thinking is it's 2020. You can like more than one sport. Mm-hmm. There's so much revenue out there. Baseball is going to make its money no matter what. If it's the first on the pecking order or the fourth on the pecking order, they're going to make their money. And, little leagues are still filling up. Like, people are still going to go to the bars when they open up to go watch the Phillies play around here. They're going to tailgate when they can. Like, we love baseball, especially in the Northeast where we are. So, they don't want to miss out on that revenue. They're going to get going. They want to 60 games from the get-go, the owners did. And the players, I think they knew they were never going to get more. It was like once they passed the threshold, they were like, look, just give in, whatever. Let's get on the field.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun. Fingers crossed, in 1 month, we're going to get actual sports. Who knows? A professional, top 4 professional sports here. So let's talk about the Eagles' 53-man roster. We're going to start off with quarterback, and we're going to kind of break it down. If there is a training camp battle, we're going to kind of also break it down. Go ahead, Rob. Who do you expect to make the 53-man roster at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I think they're going to keep 3, and I think it's a 3 we all have seen all along. It's Wentz, Sudfeld, it's Jalen Hurts. Where they will set up as far as who's second string, who's third string, that sort of thing. Maybe there's a battle there. I kind of believe that it's going to be a year where they dress 3 quarterbacks every game.
Yeah.
And Sudfeld will be the initial backup, but Jalen Hurts could be a guy that you see sees the field a couple plays a game. as my little thing down at the bottom here says, I'm still not happy with him here, not because of him. Just I look at that pick every day, and when I see things such as, Brandon Brooks being lost for the year, and I go, and here's how we spent our draft capital with, it's just like, it makes you think. But I don't think there's going to be any surprises. I don't think Kyle Lauletta is stepping up and taking anybody's job this year.
Not in a shortened off season. What about you, JR?
No, I agree. I think we invested a little too much in Sudfeld to not dress him almost every week, especially initially, like Rob said, the first couple weeks. Hurts will probably be in different packages. So we're going to need a really competent backup. God forbid if something happened when we put Hurts in on one of these gadget plays that we're assuming we're going to do, and he does get hurt. You're going to need Sudfeld dressed. He knows the locker room. He knows the playbook like the back of his hand. He knows that quarterback room. So I think Wentz wants him in there too, because Wentz is big on his comfortability. We saw that once we got rid of all his coordinators and his backup quarterback, Nick Foles. When that quarterback room changed, you saw Wentz change a little bit. He had to put a lot more on his shoulders. So just for comfortability's sake, Sudfeld will be there, Hurts, and then that is cool, but nah.
Yeah, we're all on the same page here. We're all in agreement. I've got three. I've got Wentz, Sudfeld, and Jalen Hurts. With so many question marks in the air about training camp and the start of the regular season, I have no idea personally. We talk about Jalen Hurts, like, how is Jalen Hurts going to take off and start getting that on-field experience that he needs in the 2020 season, man? Like, Carson Wentz is going to get the bulk of the reps when training camp does occur, if it occurs. Jalen Hurts is projected to be a vital part of the Eagles' offense. I'm a little concerned that there won't be enough time for that Wentz-Hurts combo to start rolling when the regular season starts. So the good news is Nate Sudfeld is entering his fourth year, man. Fourth year on the team. He has a ton of knowledge of the playbook. Fingers crossed that Wentz and Sudfeld can kind of take Jalen Hurts under their wing and be a real mentor for this guy. But due to Hurts' inexperience, Wentz's injury history, I expect the Eagles to dress three quarterbacks. Kyle Lauletta, he's a really fun kind of player, but not if this was like 2017, totally different story. I've got three there. Let's move on to running back. Rob, lead us off. What's your projection for the running back position?
This is one that I'm sure I will have wrong, just because I expect it to change. I don't expect Miles Sanders to change. I don't expect Boston Scott to change. I expect both of them there. Right now, I have Corey Clement as the third running back. And just because of the numbers game here, I only have them with three right now. But I really, really, really expect them to make a signing here, a free agent signing. I don't know who. I mean, we've all heard the names. We've heard the Freemans and all that kind of stuff. I do expect a fourth back at some point, but just for the sake of this drill that we're doing and because of my numbers in other positions and the fact that when I did this the first time, I did have four running backs and then realized I forgot about kicker, punter, and long snapper, so I had to cut three positions. I said, let me just cut the running back. But like I said, I do expect there to be a fourth, but judging what's on the roster right now, I'll take those three and I'll run ahead with that.
Fantastic. Go ahead, JR.
I think we're all across the board will say the three that you mentioned will definitely make the team with Sanders, Scott, and Clement. I think Michael Warren will, the running back out of Cincinnati that we picked up. I know we talked about him a couple podcasts ago, but this guy's a bruiser. He's what we wanted Jordan Howard to be, but he did it at Cincinnati. So it's a very low-level school. I mean, it's not the top-tier Big Five conference, but I think he sneaks on because we might need a change of pace. And let's see what this kid can do. Unless we go out and get a Carlos Hyde or a Devontae Freeman, something like that, then yeah, plans change. But for now, I like this kid. He's cheap. He seems like he's a really nice guy. I watched all of his highlight films. He hits people. Like these middle linebackers, he was jacking some of them up. So it's kind of see a good different change of pace. So that'll be my four. And then hopefully we don't make a move because I don't want to put more money into the running back position, to be honest with you. We need to save up and sign Sanders when we do.
Yeah, I am kind of on that same page with you, JR. Like I would not want to spend money at the running back spot. All signs point to a monster year by Miles Sanders, but I'm going with Miles. I'm going with Boston Scott. I'm going with Corey Clement, and like you said, JR, I'm going with Michael Warren. So I think a training camp battle to watch here is that Michael Warren versus Elijah Holyfield. That could be a really fun battle here. So that they're going to fight for that last spot. But yeah, I'm going with undrafted free agent Michael Warren for all the reasons you said, JR. This guy's a bruiser. This guy's a truck out of the backfield. He's a solid complement to Sanders and Scott. His strength is making that guy miss and converting short yardage situations. So that is an obvious fit with the Philadelphia Eagles roster. Give me Warren here. I've got 4 at the running back spot. I've got Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Corey Clement, and Michael Warren. Let's move on to the wide receiver position. Go ahead, Rob.
All right. Just real quick, I'm on board with a Michael Warren, a bruiser back. Because of this shortened off season, I think undrafted free agents are going to find it very difficult to make a roster because they just don't have a lot of the time. So I guess that's probably, but listen, they need a bruiser. I don't care how they get it. They need a change of pace back. So that's that. All right. So a wide receiver, I gave us 6. Okay. I kept 6. That number could be 7. But for sake of this drill, I went with 6. I went with Deshaun, Rager, Greg Ward, Arcega-Whiteside, and then John Hightower. They're my 5 that are definitely making – I think John Hightower is going to make the roster. I think the last spot will be a battle between Quez Watkins and Marquise Goodwin.
Yep. Goodwin
has not stayed healthy. My thing is, if he gets hurt in training camp, he's gone. Like it's just he's gone. Alshon Jeffrey is obviously left off the list right now just because he's going to start on the PUP list to begin with. You're not going to have him if he's even on the roster until week 8 anyway, so he's not going to count as a roster spot right now. But look, all signs point to Alshon Jeffrey being on this team right now. I mean,
wow.
If you look at the way that this offseason has played out, they've talked highly of him. And Deshaun Jackson has mentioned him. He's reached out to rookies as they've joined the team. It doesn't seem like any of us were correct in our assumption that he was long gone. But who the hell? This has been the weirdest offseason ever. Take COVID out of it, and it was already a strange offseason for the Eagles. That has just added a whole nother dimension to this thing.
Interesting. Very interesting take. What about you, JR?
Heart. That's Philadelphia is heart. And one thing we disagree on, we've said it a couple of times, is Marquise Goodwin. There's an ESPN special that came out about this dude over the last 2 years of him. He and his wife, college sweethearts at the University of Texas, they were both Olympians running track, fell in love. They tried to have a baby. She had a miscarriage. 2 years later, they tried to have another baby. They got pregnant with twins. Another miscarriage.
Yeah.
And then finally she got pregnant, and they just had their first child successfully at their procedure she got done to her. So this was all heavily researched by the Eagles front house organization. They knew everything going in with this dude's mentals. They knew what an athlete he was and how hard he was working on his rehabilitation for his leg. And I think when he wasn't there with the 49ers last year, when they went all the way to the Super Bowl, he kind of got a little disenfranchised from the team a little bit, which can happen when you're hurt all year. That happens. So he wanted a fresh start. That organization wanted to give him a fresh start. The Eagles are welcoming him in. If he has anything left in his knee, I think he's definitely making this roster. The guy's still got speed. Put him on a track and see how fast this dude is. I say we have a track team. I think he's going to be one of them. With that being said, he's wide receiver number 5. That's all I think was we're keeping 5 receivers this year. Deshaun, Rager, Greg Ward are on. JJ Arcega-Whiteside, I think, is definitely still heavily in the mix, even maybe to start at the X position because he's kind of the only height we have out there. But I think we're only going to go with 5, and I think we're going to try to sneak Hightower and Watkins on the practice squad. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to get both of them because I know Hightower, especially with his kick returning abilities, is someone that other teams are going to want to look at. But I think that we have enough flexibility with guys who can return kicks with the amount of the corners we're going to be keeping, and especially these 5 wide receivers, we can figure it out. So I think we'll go with those 5. I'm going to try to sneak both Watkins and Hightower on the practice squad.
Awesome. I've got 6. Great job, JR. I've got 6. I've got Djax. I've got Rigger. I got Arcega-Whiteside. I've got Goodwin. I've got Greg Ward, of course, my baby. And I've got John Hightower. So this sums up. I cannot wait to see Dougie P and Carson Wentz utilize Jalen Reagor all across the field, on the outside, in the slot. It's going to be really, really fun to watch. But my training camp battle, man, is Goodwin versus Hightower versus Quez Watkins. These guys are major question marks, and I'm not sold on either of these guys. Like, these guys are pure question marks, and I'm talking about Goodwin, Hightower, and Watkins. So it's really going to break down to who earns it the most. These guys are just kind of the same. Who can make an impact on special teams will probably be the deciding factor between these three guys, I think. So I honestly, I have major concerns about Goodwin's need. That is a major, major issue. And I just, due to the shortened offseason, though, he's probably a good bet to make the roster because they're probably not going to go with Hightower or Quez Watkins. So it's a very interesting kind of battle here between the last three spots on that wide receiver position. But any take on that, Rob?
Yeah, I think Goodwin will get it over Quez Watkins. I actually, if he's healthy, he's going to make the roster. I meant to preface it by saying that. I listen, this team's going to keep 6 wide receivers because here's why you have to. First of all, Deshaun Jackson, you don't know how many games he's going to give you. Secondly, and I know it probably was just coach's speech, but Doug Peterson coming out and saying, well, we're only going to have Reagor kind of shadow Deshaun Jackson right now. It's kind of like, are you telling us that you are only using him as a backup early on? No, don't do this to me, man. Just don't do this to me. So I think that Hightower will make it over a Quez Watkins. I agree with JR. They're going to try and sneak a Watkins onto that practice squad and hope he lasts there.
I hope.
But I don't think they can go in with under 6 receivers, especially when you're talking about one of those receivers being Deshaun Jackson, who has had trouble staying healthy. Another one of those receivers being Arcega-Whiteside, who was just brutal last year. And Jalen Reagor is a rookie on a shortened offseason. So I think you have to be ready at that position. You cannot keep yourself like you did last year and cut yourself short so that when these injuries happen, Robert Davis and Deontay Burnett are playing major snaps in major games.
Yeah, I went with 6 here because I think this is the third position for the Eagles where they want to keep guys fresh and rotate guys as much as possible. Yeah. I think of defensive line and I think of offensive line. And after that, I think of wide receiver. I think they want to rotate guys as much as they can. I think Djax is going to play limited snaps the first half of the season, then slowly get ramped up as they get ready for the playoff push. I think we're going to see a lot of that. Versatility is king here, man. And I see Jalen Reagor and Greg Ward owning that slot position. Of course, Jalen Reagor will be, playing plenty on the outside, but I see JJ replacing Alshon in that X spot. So I definitely see 6 spots here for the wide receivers. I see Dougie P wanting to have a lot of guys that can come in and come out and stay kind of fresh. So that's just my opinion. Any thoughts on that, JR?
No, I'm right there with you guys. We're going to rotate. We're definitely going to be rotating receivers right in. And I get that we need depth, but there's 2 guys that line up at tight end that when we go 4 and 5 wide receiver sets, they're out there. And we also have a running back who looks like a young Marshall Faulk who will be out there in sets. So when you have that, you have to think that you have 2 tight ends and you have a running back who you have to get on the field to be in these receiver sets. So keeping 6 receivers sounds great because whenever you think we're going 4 or 5 wide, you need that many receivers, you need depth. But when in reality, we might only have 2 or 3 receivers on the field for these expanded sets because that's Doug's offense. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially with the injury to Goodwin. If I think that dictates if he isn't healthy, then I think we go 6 because we will need that speed and youth. But if he's healthy, I think we go 5 and just roll with it.
Well said. Well said. Let's move on to that tight end spot. Rob, what's your prediction for the tight end position?
Well, I mean, obviously, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are going to be on this roster, and they're going to play a lot. I do think they'll keep 3. I think they like to have 3 tight ends. And I think Josh Perkins, who, listen, if you would have asked me If you would have asked me 2 years ago about Josh Perkins, I would have told you that I hated this man with the passion, because like they were trying to run him at receiver, but I think he showed enough last year that he'll make the roster as your third tight end this year. So I think you'll go with Ertz, Goddard, and Perkins. I don't know how much he dresses, but he's going to be on this roster.
What about you, JR?
Same thinking, but I'll switch it up. I think Perkins is going to have a position matchup with Alex Ellis. Alex Ellis was on the roster last year. I mean, who wasn't? The popcorn vendor was on the roster, but we saw them. Ellis was everywhere. He was at fullback. He was at tailback. He was at H. He was at Y. I mean, they put this kid everywhere, and it didn't matter. So he obviously is in with a couple of different coaching circles that the running backs coach trust him, the tight ends coach trust him, the offensive line coach trust him. Perkins is good, but I don't know if we need him. I think we need more of like a switch army knife type player, and that's what this Ellis can be. And there's a third tight end who really gives a shit. So I mean, I'll go with the versatility aspect and say Ellis makes it the third spot.
Yeah, dude. Well said. Well said. Yeah, Josh Perkins, he can play wide receiver. He can play tight end. Alex Ellis, he's versatile. So whoever earns it, I guess, should earn it. But obviously, I have Ertz and Goddard. Similar to Miles Sanders, like the Eagles' speed on the outside, like the middle of the field is going to open so much for Ertz and Goddard this season. But like the storyline here is that Josh Perkins versus Alex Ellis here, and I went with two. I loaded up on the offensive line, and we're going to touch on that soon. I loaded up on the defensive line because I think they're going to be rotating even more so than we've seen in the past. Keep Fletcher Cox healthy and ready for the playoff push. So this was like my one position when I went through my 53-man roster that I went with two because I think they want one more wide receiver. I think they want one more defensive lineman and offensive lineman. So I went with two, even though I know when Ertz goes out, when Goddard goes out, it throws off the entire offense and they are completely lost. So this is one of those like spots where I don't fucking know. I honestly don't know. But I just went with Ertz and Goddard in this position. And then we move on to offensive line. Go ahead, Rob.
All right. So I do not see any way this team keeps under 10 offensive linemen on this team.
Yep.
I think, right now it's a weird situation. Brandon Brooks going out has everybody talking about a lot of different things. So right now, I just went on their website to see who they had plugged in to right guard for the time being. I don't know if it'll stay this way or anything like that. But they have it as Dillard, Sayamalu, Kelsey, Driscoll, and Johnson as the first five on their depth chart online. Whatever. I don't think Driscoll starts there, but I think Driscoll makes his team. From there, when you look at some of the backups, I think Matt Pryor is a guarantee lock to be here. He may be starting at that right guard position.
I agree.
I think they're going to stick with the Jordan Mailata experiment because out of almost necessity right now. I think Nate Herbig sticks around because, we've talked about Jason Kelsey and they didn't draft the center that we had, I guess, really hoped that they would have drafted. No, he went to Dallas instead, but that's besides the point. They just took every guy I wanted in the draft this year.
Didn't they trade out of that spot?
Yeah, they traded out. Dallas took him. Dallas got the kid from Utah, the Anai kid from Utah. It was fantastic. Great draft. And I will say that Prince Tega Wanago is going to make the roster at this point. When you look at everything else that's happening, and right there, that's only 9 guys. Like I haven't even named the 10th because I'm going to go out on the limb and actually make a prediction today that they're going to bring someone in for that right guard spot.
Jason Peters?
I don't know. I think, listen, on paper, it makes sense, right? Guy knows the locker room. He's been a leader here. He's our Hall of Fame left tackle, all that stuff. But are they going to go after one of these guards, like who's the kid from the Saints that, got released kind of in a surprising way? Are they going to make a trade with a team? Is there a team that has multiple guards that they can go out and maybe trade somebody from one of the positions that they have a little bit of depth and get? I don't think they're done. I would be stunned if they go into the year with just what's on their roster at the offensive line position right now. But I do think at the end of the day, any way you look at it, 10 is the number that they are at least going to be at when it comes to offensive line.
What about you, JR?
Right there with you. I this goes back to a rant I had one of the first times I was with you guys. This is about Jeff Stoutland, because right now, if you can't get Mailata, Pryor, or Driscoll up to speed to fill in at this guard position, the weakest spot on the offensive line, like no offense to the other positions, but right guard is the weakest spot on the offensive line. So if you can't fit one of these three guys into that hole, then it's going to be a big issue. And then I think that's when we see Peters be brought back. They'll probably stretch this out and let Stoutland do what he does and see what he can have, come with these three. But if not, then you're going to probably see Peters. You might see us. There was a rumor we were talking to Seattle about one of their backup guards for like a 6th-round pick. It fell through, but I knew that was in talks. It was all over the Twitter sphere. But I like Nate Hedberg. I think he makes the roster too as a young guy.
Nice.
He could play anywhere. You could throw him at center. You could throw him at guard. You could throw him on the left side, right side. I mean, he's not really – his arms killed him in the draft. Like a lot of the people we drafted this year, it was like guys with short arms for some reason. I have no idea why. But I mean, it's basically just to piggyback what Rob said. I think we will make a move if they don't feel confident that one of these three guys can get acclimated to the right guard position.
Yeah, we are on the same page here, JR. I've got 10 offensive linemen. I got Dillard, Samuelu, Kelsey, Johnson, Matt Pryor, huge, now a huge important player to the Eagles' success of 2020. Prince Tega Wanago, Jack Driscoll, Nate Herbig, Jordan Mailata, and I'm bringing back Jason Peters. But words cannot express how bad that loss of Brandon Brooks is on that offensive line, man. Just a brutal injury. I expect Jason Peters to come back. I don't know what's going to happen with where he plays, but I think a little bit of a wild card that no one's really talking about, and you touched on it. I'm really happy that you did, JR, is Nate Herbig. And I think we all know Jason Kelsey's, coming down at does he play the rest of the season? When does he retire? But Nate Herbig has the versatility to kind of play anywhere in that interior offensive line, but he is that natural replacement for Jason Kelsey. So it would be really kind of Nate Herbig is a very underrated prospect to watch for sure on this roster. So let's talk about defensive line. Rob, how many defensive line guys do you have on this Eagles 53-man roster?
I've gone back and forth on that. And I think at the time right now, I have 9. I have 9 on there. I did have it at 10 before I realized I forgot about Jake Elliott and Cam Johnston and all the special teams guys. So I think you're going to have the guys we all know: Graham, Cox, Hargrave, and Barnett. I think Josh Sweat, Malik Jackson, Gennard Avery. And then I think they're going to keep 2 more defensive tackles in Anthony Rush and Hassan Ridgeway. I know they brought Ridgeway back because they wanted him here for more depth at that position. Right now, their defensive tackle is their strongest position. I mean, from top to bottom, Cox, Hargrave. I mean, Malik Jackson is now a second-teamer coming off of this injury. I thought Anthony Rush played very well at times last year when called upon. And before the injury, Hassan Ridgeway had done a lot of good things for this defense. So I think you're going to see them keep those 5 guys and just have, as we've talked about, they love to rotate. If they can do that at defensive tackle and continue to get the same, a similar level of production, it's just going to benefit them, especially on the ends where you have a few more question marks. Brandon Graham has been great. When does he hit that other side of his career and start to take a dip? We don't know. Derek Barnett, question mark. Avery, Sweat, a lot of question marks. I would still like to see them add a defensive end. Yannick. But I'm just saying, I would still like to see it happen. But
can I interrupt one second?
What was that? Dude, you scared me. Yeah, because you scared the hell out of me today.
So I got an ESPN alert on my phone, like every other loser on this planet. I have like ESPN alerts on my phone, and I got an alert on my phone that said Yannick traded to the Browns, and I literally lost my shit thinking that, oh my god, the Eagles lost out on Yannick Ngakoue, and I clicked the link and it was, oh these are like, fake trade proposals that would be, that would make a lot of sense. I lost it. I
read your tweet today and my heart sank. And I go on Twitter and I'm looking and I'm going, where the hell is this at? I was like, there's no way. And then I realized that you had to be mistaken, like that, whatever it was. And I was like, thank God, because I was ready to kill you. I really was.
All right. Yeah, I mean, when we talk about versatility as king with the Eagles, I feel like the offense is just catching up, but that is the number one thing about the Eagles defense. Go ahead, JR. What's your take on the defensive line position?
D-line, one of the easiest ones for me, I think. The 4 D tackles that are going to be in the mix for me would be Cox, Hargrave, Jackson, and Ridgeway. They're all massive, massive human beings, all over 300 pounds. It's phenomenal. I can't wait for them to just rotate and be healthy and fresh and hungry. On the D end, I think we're going 6.
Okay.
A little bit of old school. Remember back in the day, we used to keep it felt like 20 D ends all the time. We would just rotate them in. But like we said, Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat, Vinny Curry, who I think we will sign. There's already talks been about that. I mean, I know that he still is in his house in Philadelphia during this pandemic. Then you got Avery, and I think we're going to keep Sharif Miller. He was a 4th-round pick 2 years ago. The coach is like him. He knows the playbook. He's put on weight this offseason. I think he'll be fine for a D at number 6. God, we need him on like some passing situations where we're rushing 4 or 5. But yes, so 10 all day on the D line with 6 D ends and 4 D tackles for me.
JR, we are agreeing so much on this podcast. What is happening? God, I don't even know. We have 10 defensive linemen on my end. I've got Graham, Fletcher Cox, Hargrave, Derek Barnett, Malik Jackson, Josh Sweat, Hassan Ridgeway. Vinny Curry is going to come back eventually. He had 5 sacks last year. Super important player to the Eagles roster. Sharif Miller and Gennard Avery. So I like you guys crushed. The defensive tackle position is absolutely locked in. Sharif Miller was a 4th-round pick. They're not going to let him go at any point. A training camp battle to watch a little bit is that Vinny Curry versus Casey Tuhill. If it was a full offseason, I think this would be a really fun battle to watch. But the fact that it is a shortened offseason, I think Vinny Curry is going to take that spot. Just a player to watch, Casey Tuhill. Really, really fun prospect. And then we get to the linebacker spot. Lead us off, my man, Rob.
I don't know. Can we cut them all? I mean, at this point, I literally just looked at my list. I literally just looked down at my list and realized that I had 6 being kept, and I didn't even star the one guy that they at this point have in the strong side linebacker place. I didn't even count him. So now I'm like, shit. I will tell you that I did have our boy Nate, Jerry. I don't really care how you say his name. It doesn't matter to me. He's here because, well, damn it.
He went to Nebraska, all right? We'll show a little respect.
Sorry. I'm going to call him Nate Nebraska or Nebraska Nate from now on. That's what I'm calling him, is Nebraska Nate is going to be on the team. Jatavis Brown was a free agent signing, so I guess he's going to be here. I do believe TJ Edwards will be not only here, but I do still think he is a contributor this year. Duke Riley from Atlanta, who is more of a special teams guy, I know, but they're going to give him a chance because they have to. And then our 2 rookies, in Sean Bradley and Davion Taylor, I think are going to make – look, they spent a 3rd-round pick on Davion Taylor. And I know all the question marks that are out there, and they are all warranted. But when you do that, when your 2nd-round pick is a backup quarterback, your 3rd-round or 4th-round pick, whatever, he damn well better play. Okay? He damn well better play. Because if not, this draft was none for this year, and you really screwed yourself if you ask me. The other guy I guess you can add there is Alex Singleton. I don't know. I mean, this position – listen, we said going into the draft and in the free agency, we all said this. They've got to upgrade the linebacker position. And honestly, they didn't do it. And I don't know. Does Nigel Bradham come back? Is he still out there? I don't know. I don't know at this point.
Interesting. Go ahead, JR.
I'm right there with you at 6. Jerry Edwards, Duke, Jatavius Brown, Taylor, and Bradley for me. I think Taylor's going to see the field. And everywhere you look, whether you type his name in on Twitter or you type it on Google, everyone's like, wow, I don't know. This guy's going to see the field. He is just such a project. Yo, get the hell out of here. You watch a film? Do you watch tape? Do you see how this dude hits like tight ends that come across the middle like a missile? He's going to find the way in the field. It's violent, and he's fast, and his Jim Schwartz is one of his best weapons. It's going to be. This kid's going to be on the field in a lot of nickel packages, a lot of dime packages too, because he can cover. So I definitely think he'll be on the field a lot. And I think he's going to surprise a lot of people too with how fast he is. Like, this dude is a jet. So, you know, 6, basically the same exact 6 you said.
Yeah.
Sean Bradley is your boy from Temple, Chris. He's definitely going to be making the squad, I think. And he'll be fun to watch too. But a lot of special teams done out of the back end, 3-4 of these linebacking crew.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've got 6 as well. I got Nate Gary. I've got TJ Edwards. I got Duke Riley, Davion Taylor, Alex Singleton. I've got Sean Bradley. So I think this one boils down to whether or not TJ Edwards is prepared to kind of take that next step as a starting middle linebacker. He's one of the most underrated key players on the Eagles roster. No doubt, a lot of people on the Eagles, especially Jim Schwartz, think that he's going to take a major step forward for the Eagles this season. I have zero clue how much to expect from Davion Taylor. I agree. I think he's very talented. I don't know what to expect. Obviously, he's a major wild card here. My training camp battle is Jatavius Brown versus Sean Bradley. Jatavius Brown is on a vet minimum salary. Sean Bradley was a 6th-round pick. Plus, he went to my team, the Temple University, my Owls. So I got to go with my boy, Sean Bradley. I think he's going to make that final linebacker spot. And I truly like, bias aside, obviously I'm very biased. I truly like Sean Bradley's upside here, and I think he's going to shock some people. He's a really tough guy, and he's going to thrive on special teams. He has a knack to always be around the football. He's not the most athletic guy. He's like the opposite of Davion Taylor. So he's just got, a ton of instincts and intelligence, and I'm just really excited to watch him play. So let's move on to the cornerback spot. Let's go, Rob.
All right. At the moment, I have 6. I do. I think they're going to keep a lot of bodies because there's a lot of unprovenness outside of Darius Slay and I guess Roby Coleman. There's a lot of guys that have to put up or shut up now. So I think it's Slay, Douglas, and I do believe Trevor Williams makes this team.
Interesting.
I do believe Trevor Williams makes this team. And if guys like Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas and they don't want to show up, they don't want to give us what we need them to give us, I think a Trevor Williams can make a statement. And then obviously, like I said, Sidney Jones, Roby Coleman, Avonte Maddox. So I am going to go with 6 corners just from the standpoint of, you know what? They have to keep the pressure on these guys. Sidney Jones, we all know, okay? But a guy like Rasul Douglas has to understand you are, we can swap you out for somebody right now. You got to do something for us. I think Avonte Maddox is fine. I really like Avonte Maddox. I like him more as a slot guy, and possibly, I know, Chris, you've talked about it, him possibly being a safety at some point, but who knows? But I'll go with 6 there.
Yeah, I think this position begins and ends with what happens with Rasul Douglas. That cap hit, that $2.3 million. Does he make the opening roster? Does he not? That is a major question mark. What about you, JR?
I think Douglas definitely makes the roster. If anything knows about this team, it's injuries. We don't have the best medical staff at all. And corner last year was devastated by injuries. So unless we see something in training camp where another team has a corner go down and they need to make a trade, that's somewhere where Douglas can go. The Phillies, to switch it up, last week had a Zoom meeting of the 08 champions. They were re-talking on a Zoom meeting. Everyone was on it. Howard, Burrell, Lee, Charlie Manuel, Jason Worth, all the guys. And Jason Worth said in there that he went up to Charlie Manuel one day and said, why am I not getting in the lineup every day? Like, what the hell's going on? And Charlie said, well, beat somebody out. Go beat somebody out. Mm-hmm. So sure enough, Worth went on like a 13-game hit streak or something. Charlie had him in the lineup and never took him out. We won the World Series. That's like something Russell Douglas needs to get a wake up to. Like, yo, stop going on Twitter and being a big tough guy. Like, you deserve it. You don't deserve shit until you earn it in the NFL, kid. Okay? You're not even out of your rookie contract yet. So you want to make the field, beat some of these dudes out. Like, don't make us have to go get a Roby Coleman. Like, don't make us have to go get a Darius Slay. You want to get on the field, shut people down. Stop getting torched. Until he does that, he's going to be sitting like 4th, maybe 5th corner right now because he is interchangeable, just like you said, Rob.
Well said. Amen. So I've got 5 cornerbacks on my roster. I've got Darius, of course, Avante, NRC, Sidney Jones, Cravon. I think all signs point to Rasul Douglas eventually being traded or moved at some point. But I just don't see Howie paying $2.3 million for this guy to be a backup. It just ain't happening. So I just see a lot of nickel corners here, and I'm just praying to God that the breakout year is for Sidney Jones. The Eagles are desperate for a guy to play outside of Darius Slay, and the training camp battle right now is the second outside starting role between Avante Maddox and Sidney Jones. That is like one of probably the best battles on this roster. It was going to be really fun to watch, and may the odds be ever in your favor. But my money is on Avante Maddox. I'm hoping for a bounce back season from Avante in 2020. The Eagles love positionless defense, and all signs point to Avante Maddox. What about you, Rob? Who do you see as the starting outside corner opposite Darius Slay?
Yeah, well, real quick, because this is why I don't go. ESPN.com is killing me. Cravon LeBlanc, I actually think is going to make this team. Now, it comes down to what you say, Chris. Is Rasul Douglas moved? If he is, I think Cravon LeBlanc is your 5th corner, and then Trayvon Williams is your 6th. I do think they keep 6 there. As far as starting on the other side, Jesus, can they make a wide receiver go play over there?
Chris Watkins?
Chris Watkins starts. I have zero reason to say what I'm about to say. Zero reason. And I'm not even going to be able to give you some.
I love when he does this.
Yeah. There will be no educated response to this. But Sidney Jones is going to be your other side starting corner. Don't know why. Call it a hunch. Call it just a feel. Call it a hope to God this was not a waste of a 2nd-round pick.
I mean, that is major. What about you, JR? Any guesses on the second outside starting corner?
Yeah, I think I'm surprised you guys are against it. I think it's Coleman. It's all day. I mean, this guy has been solid. He's not really ever been torched that bad in the 4 years he's been in the league. Everywhere he's been, the coaches have loved him. Everywhere he's been, defensive coordinators also got fired too, so that might say something. But that's probably a reason why he hasn't stuck around for one team for a while. But this dude's a solid number 2. I'll put him up to shut down most number 2s in the league. And then if we had to go 3 corners, I think that's when we'll bring Sidney in. And maybe we put Coleman in the slot right there to cover a faster receiver.
Yeah. Put
Sidney on the outside. But if Rasul's there, Rasul's going to be in the mix too. I was just looking up Avante Maddox stats from this year. And I know you guys like him, but like, who the hell did he play against that he shut down and has got all of a sudden like he earned his spot now? Like, I'm looking at the receivers that he shut down last year, and they're nobody special. Like, you go pull them up on Madden, these receivers are out of 70, 72, 73. Like, yeah, he can cover guys like that, and that's fine, but that's nothing that special to me. That doesn't make you start in the Philadelphia Eagles. Dude, hit the bench. Thank you for your contributions next year, and we'll call you up if we need you again, but leave it to the big boys. You got Slay and Coleman who make the money, and then Jones was the high draft pick. That's what it should be.
One of the reasons, JR, why I don't necessarily say, okay, Coleman's going to be the other side starting outside corner is because I see the Eagles in 3 corners a lot when you talk about their linebacker situation. So because of that, like you said, when they're in 3 corners, Roby Coleman's going to be in that slot position. I think that's where he really is going to make his money. So for me, the question is, well, when that happens, when Roby Coleman has to be on the inside for whatever reason, who is that outside corner? And I'll take Sidney Jones because I will say Avante Maddox does really well against number 3s and number 4s. I don't know if he's going to be able to translate that into a team's number 2, if that makes any sense.
To piggyback off that, Rob. So when we go we go three corner sets. Who's to say that Jalen Mills isn't coming in on that and sneaking down on the inside? Because there's a reason he got moved, so he stays on the field. Like, we at least have depth for once at the cornerback position and the safety position.
There, yeah.
So we haven't had depth there in, I would at least say 4, 5, 6 years. So let's be happy we have this and let them play out. Best man wins.
Well said, JR. Nailed it. I fully agree with that. We're going to get into the safety spot, but I'm going to give a little nod to my man, Crayvon LeBlanc. All this guy does is make plays when he's on the field. God forbid he actually can play a full season, but when he does, dude just makes plays. So my money is on Crayvon LeBlanc. So let's talk about the safety spot. Rob, who do you have making the final 53-man roster at the safety?
I got 4 of them. I got Jalen Mills and Rodney McLeod. I have Will Parks, who came over. And I have Kevon Wallace, who, I hate that it's a short – if there's one rookie outside of a Jalen Reagor that I hate that it's a short off season, it's Wallace. Because if he had a full off season, I think Wallace was going to surprise a lot of people. And I think that he was going to get a ton – and he still may get a ton of playing time if they go dime and things like that. But – he's a kid. If there's one guy that isn't like one of the people that everyone's picking that I can't wait to see, it's Wallace. This is the kid that I want to watch and watch him develop. Like, I'm looking forward to preseason games to watch him on the field.
What about you, JR?
Agree. Same 4. I like Will Parks too. I want to see what he can really do when given a defensive coordinator that believes in him. One guy that I wish made the roster at safety, but he's not going to, is Graylin Arnold out of Baylor. Thin dude, can play both safety and corner. I really hope we sneak him on the practice squad. I loved this dude when he was at Baylor. But besides that, it's going to be hard for him to get on the field. Jalen Mills is going to be real questionable, but who knows? He could be hurt come week 2 with his injury. What worries me is that we really don't have any speed in the safety position. McLeod can cover. He can definitely cover, but like Torrey Hunter in his end couple years in his career, he can't really get that speed anymore, but he can still make a defensive catch if he needs to. So we'll see. I'm happy with it, though. What did we give the D-backs before when we did our grades? At least a B plus for the safeties, so we'll see.
Yep. Definitely it was an upgrade from 2019. I've got 4 safeties as well. You guys nailed it. McLeod, Mills, Will Parks, Kevon Wallace. I love the McLeod contract. No issues there. I am honestly a little concerned about Jalen Mills replacing Malcolm Jenkins, of course, as anyone should be. Sane person should be. We all know that Schwartz loves his safeties in the box. That should be where Jalen Mills thrives. So the fit is definitely there. But my training camp battle to watch is that Will Parks versus Kevon Wallace. You touched on it, Rob. I'm looking at Will Parks versus Kevon Wallace, and I'm hoping that Kevon Wallace can eventually jump over him and take that third safety spot. I think Kevon Wallace can bring everything, maybe even the second spot that the Eagles really need there, just to be Kevon Wallace is a very versatile defensive back. He can play safety. He can play cornerback. He's done it in college. That's everything the Eagles are looking for. So let's move on to special teams. I mean, do we need to talk about special teams? Go ahead, Rob.
3 guys. I forgot about them when I first did this, and then had like if I was a GM and did that, and then had to go back and call guys and be like, never mind, you didn't make the team. I got to cut 3 more of you because I forgot about my kicker, punter, and long snapper, and Elliott Johnston and Ricky Lovato. I'm glad Rick Lovato is going to make the team. Last year when I went to training camp, I met him and Brandon Graham and got their autograph. So I could say that, they're still on the squad. That's a good thing.
Do you have anything to add to that, JR?
No.
Same here. So any final thoughts on this roster before we wrap it up? Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I'm a Negadelphian, and as I went through this roster, I became more and more concerned about this upcoming season because of the amount of guys I look at and go, I just don't know what the hell you are. Like, I just don't know. I feel like you look up and down this roster, and it is such a – like, there's a high reward there, but there's also a high risk. And my hope is maybe in the shortened off season where everybody's got to go through it, that, maybe some of these guys catch other teams by surprise. And a Davion Taylor, as JR says, comes out and just starts firing guys up like a missile and add some speed to that linebacking group. I've been playing a lot of Madden 20 lately. And I can tell you that Davion Taylor has been a beast for me, but I also traded for Kenneth Murray because I was still mad about that. The Eagles don't even look like the same team right now, 3 years into a franchise mode, just to let you guys know.
What about you, JR?
A lot different than last year.
Yeah.
We were going in last year, and after last year's offseason, going into the season, like, dude, this team's going to win 12, 13 games. I mean, easily. Like, we're going to be awesome. Now we're going in it with we don't really have bandages and crutches anymore, but it's like we just walked out of the ER. I'm like, all right, well, how are we going to be? Like, let me test my steps, see how we're going to do. I'm a homer. I'm a homer. So, I'll sit here, go down a rabbit hole and watch film for 3 hours by myself because I'm weird. And I like the guys I see, but on film, they don't show bad plays. You only see the good plays. So I'm okay with it. I think this linebacking crew is going to surprise some people. I think our D-line is going to be absolutely amazing. And I think we will make a move for an offensive lineman too, knowing Howie and how he acts with his offensive line. He likes to always make sure that front wall is secure. I'm going to live on the hill saying we only keep 5 receivers, though. That might be the one thing that I'm different from everyone in this community, because I think a lot of people have us keeping 6 wide receivers. But I think they want to have Ertz and Goddard on the field at the same time, so we'll see them more in receiver sets. But I like this 53-man roster so far. It might be 55, too, with this new rule. So we might actually have to keep it a couple other guys.
I'm actually more confident in the defense than I am with the offense. Surprise, surprise. I like the depth at cornerback. I like Kayvon Wallace kind of in that back of the safety spot. I think he's going to be a really good player. I do think TJ Edwards is a really good player. I do think that he's going to kind of take his next step in his evolution as a prospect. But I do have major concerns on offense, and that starts with the offensive line, especially with Brandon Brooks going out. The number one priority of the Eagles is protecting Carson Wentz, and I do have major concerns at wide receiver. I don't expect Alshon Jeffrey to come back. So much pressure is going to be put on Jalen Reagor, and he other than Andre Dillard, we didn't even talk about Andre Dillard, but Jalen Reagor is a massively important player for the Eagles. We saw what happened when the Eagles were shut down with their ability to stretch the field on offense. And Jalen Reagor is going to have to be that guy. And I just don't, I can't invest my heart and my soul in guys that are 5th, 6th, 7th round draft picks and John Hightower and Quez Watkins and Marquez Goodwin. I can't do it. I've done it so many freaking times with the Eagles where I believe these guys are going to these random players are going to turn around a season. It's not going to happen, but I do like the running back spot. So that Brandon Brooks injury, man, just brought back so many demons, like so many things out of the closet that I just really, really have not gotten over yet. And I really, really hope that it's the depth and the young players step up. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, this is what I'm saying, right? We came into this offseason and said, man, last year was brutal with injury. We've got to stay healthy. We haven't even got into workouts. Like, the injuries are starting and guys aren't even in full team workouts. They're working out on their own. It's just like, did we listen? It brings up this question, right? Obviously, we all know the answer, but the fun question of, did we sell our team soul for Super Bowl 52? Did we sell the soul? Because look at what has happened in the 3 years since. It's like, is this the trick, right? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled. Is this it right here? We didn't realize we sold our soul to him for Super Bowl 52, and now we're paying it back.
The Eagles needed a injection of youth last season, and other than TJ Edwards for a little bit and Miles Sanders, it was an overall failure across the board. Any comment on that, JR?
I'd sell my soul again for another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do that every time. We got a Super Bowl. I think we'd never see one in our lives, dude. My dad did it. My grandpa never did. I mean, come on. It's awesome. I'll do that. But who knows? Who the hell knows with this team? Is Prince even going to be on the active roster, the offensive lineman Toga? I mean, are we just going to throw him on the pup too? Because do you really want a project taking up a roster spot who might be hurt? So if we add him to the IR too, then we're definitely going to be bringing another offensive lineman. We need some depth. So this is way, way early roster predictions from all of us. So it's definitely going to even change a month from now.
Yeah.
Well said. That's a great way to end it. Go ahead, Rob.
I just have one question for both of you, un-Eagles related, non-Eagles question.
Nice.
With the new DH rule being instituted, should the Phillies sign Yasiel Puig to be their DH hitter?
3 weeks ago, they should have, especially with all this cap room that we have right now. There's no reason not to. He does not want to play in the South. He doesn't want to play near any big Cuban market, so he doesn't have any pressure on him. Come to Philly where we got a nice big market for you. And just hit. That's it. Because I'll tell you what, we're going to be seeing Cespedes a lot at DH for the Mets, and he's going to absolutely kill us. And the Braves have like 20 young guys who are amazing. They're going to throw them in at DH. So it's going to be – they got to make something. They got to make a move at DH big time.
I just want to echo JR's statements for like the 11th time. But like I look on Twitter, and so many people on Philadelphia Twitter is against the DH. Does anyone not know like it is going to be up to the Phillies offense to carry the Phillies pitching?
Yeah.
Period. Like Alec Boehm, Jay Bruce, those two are so important, so critical to the Phillies' success, and I just don't think people get that. Like I don't give a shit about how you feel about the history of the game, the respect of the game. I don't care. But that is a massive part.
If you paid attention to the history of the game, you would understand that once pitchers like hit high school, they stop practicing batting. So why should they be batting then? If they're not going to practice it and you're not going to ask them to do it, listen, the school that I teach at is a baseball factory in South Jersey. And I could tell you that most of these, a couple of the pitchers have been batters, but most of them are like they're DH4 already in high school. So yeah, bring the friggin' DH. Let's get some offense and let's make baseball fun again. Like Bryce Harper said, 2 or 3 years ago, make baseball fun again. Let's go.
The Phillies pitchers hit 121 in 2019, and one of the worst in the entire NL last season. And all I see is that people are so against the DH on my timeline, and I'm just like, well, what reality is this? Like, where are we right now? Like, the Phillies offense has to, make up for the lack of depth in that starting rotation. Any last comments, JR?
I'll shout out my high school, Ocean City High School, getting their high school senior, Jake McKenna, signed to the Phillies out of high school was absolutely huge. That's awesome. He trains with one of my good buddies. Dude's a beast. There's like 92 in high school. Get out of here. That's awesome.
That's awesome. All right.
Well, we're going to see a lot of the Red Sox this year, which is a Gloucester Catholic kid pitching for them. So should be I can't believe that we have to play the AL East 20 times.
Yeah, but we're gonna Red Sox suck this year. We're gonna beat up on them. We're going to beat up on the Rays. The Yankees might just beat us every single game. But, I mean, who else?
Are they healthy? Are the Yankees even healthy?
Who knows?
I think, to be honest with you, the Phillies right now are plus 3,000 to win the World Series. Throw a nickel on that if you got it, because this is going to be a weird sprint. At the 60-game mark last year, the Washington Nationals were dead last in the NL East. Just saying. They went on to win the World Series, so it's going to be a sprint.
The Phillies are the major wild card, 100% in this entire MLB season. If you could flip-flop Bryce Harper's season with Rhys Hoskins' season, you got a great lineup right there. Anyway, so make sure you follow my man JR on Twitter. He is John Russell 215 on Twitter. Check out my man Rob. He is Philly_Madness on Twitter. And check out the Madness podcast featuring Jessica Town. You can find that podcast anywhere you find your pods or here at the Painted Lines YouTube channel. For Rob, for JR, for myself, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
Love you guys.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The right, Russell Westbrook. You love the